Hello! Today we'll be exploring the topics of training, development, and staff empowerment. More specifically, we will look at how all of these topics are interrelated and how training and development can be powerful tools when it comes to staff empowerment. First, let's start with a little background, which hopefully will give you a clearer picture on why I chose this topic. I currently work as a residential manager at an all-boys therapeutic boarding school, where I spend much of my workday diving into staff hiring, training, team development, scheduling, and other tasks related to the well-being of my clients. This unique experience of leading a team, often through crisis situations, has provided me with the opportunity to explore what works when it comes to building effective teams in a high-stress environment. To kick off, I wanted to share a quote with you from a man by the name of David Zinger, who is a renowned employee engagement speaker and author. He states, "Employee engagement is the art and science of engaging people in authentic and recognized connections to strategy, roles, performance, organization, community, relationships, customers, development, and energy, and happiness to leverage, sustain, and transform work into results." In fewer words, Zinger writes the formula for staff empowerment, and that is the idea that effective training and development leads to happy, excited employees. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to answer the following questions. What is training and how do companies create effective training programs for their employees? What is the outcome of effective training and why is training so important? What is development and how is development different from training? How does training and development positively impact staff or employee empowerment, and why is this important? And what are some examples of training and development models? So, what is training? We have training defined here, and simply put, training is comprised of resources which employees need as the foundation to their work. Examples include new hire training or new employee orientation, which may be required before an employee is able to step on the floor, basic training, like how to operate machinery or a register system, supervisor or management training, which could segue into leadership development, or specific job training, like CPR or first aid, for employees working in hospital or caregiver settings. And in order to know what training might be necessary, a company should conduct a needs assessment. Needs assessments can be a helpful tool for understanding what, if any, training may be needed, and how to design the training based on specific needs. For example, a company may notice that the influx of millennials requires that company to look at or redesign their training methods to be more effective for this generation. In order to accomplish this, a needs assessment looks at 3 areas of question. First, the organization. Where is the training needing to occur? Or what specific characteristics of the company will be important for an effective training. Second, the person or persons, so who needs training? Again, looking back to the millennial example. And third, the task. What are we needing to cover in our training? Is this a situation where we need to incorporate policy and procedure, or more hands-on related training? Once we have completed our assessment and have a greater understanding of our audience and our specific training needs, it is important to choose the right training platform. Let's look at 3 general training platforms. One platform is the presentation method, which can include lectures, workbooks, video clips, podcasts, and websites, and sometimes a combination of several. The presentation method can be effective in captivating the attention of auditory, visual, and kinesthetic learners all at the same time. Another would be a hands-on method, which can include on-the-job training, simulations, role plays, computer games, or online modules. Role plays are common when training on crisis de-escalation models in residential treatment or hospital settings, for example. If the needs assessment determines that an employee team is in need of trust or rapport building, a group building method may be the best choice. Fostering group discussions or getting a team involved in experiential or teamwork exercises can be a quick and fun gateway to trust and rapport amongst individuals. Now that we have an understanding of some general training platforms, let's look at specific examples. I have pulled together some examples from my own experience to share with you, and as we go along, I encourage you to think about your own work experience and how you may have implemented these different platforms within training, or if you have experienced these platforms while receiving training for your position. The first example is the presentation method, where a training was needed in order to familiarize employees with a new online scheduling system. The presentation method worked best in this case because we were able to pull together a step-by-step visual of how to use the system while providing time to answer questions and walk through specific steps. An important note to remember with presentations is that you want to keep your slides simple and insert cues to get your audience involved, like inserting pop quizzes here and there. The second example is the hands-on method, and really this training platform was a great segue into employee development as well, but we'll talk more about development later. In this case, an employee was moving from a line staff position to a supervisor position, and it was necessary to familiarize him with more company policy and procedure, while allowing for goal setting and feedback review in order to assess how effective the training period was. As you can see, the action plan allowed for the employee to identify goals in specific areas for training, which ultimately was helpful for both the trainer and the trainee. Our last example showcases the group building method, which often is my favorite method of training because it allows for creativity and fun. In this case, our employee team was in need of trust and rapport building. So, as a management team, we organized a human game of Hungry Hungry Hippos, where we required teams to work through specific challenges, like being blindfolded or not being able to communicate between each other. This proved to be a great way to bring the team together and allowed for a debriefing session after, where we related the challenges of this exercise to some challenges that they might face as a team working with our clients, and how to better problem solve in those moments. So far, we have covered what training is, how to assess needs for training, and which training platforms might be most effective given specific situations. But how do we know if we have accomplished our goal of implementing an effective training? Here are some indicators of a successful training, and in a moment, I will challenge you to think of your own. A successful training may be reflected in an increase of profit for the company, showcasing that the employees are getting the job done and getting it done well. Improved employee performance. You might notice that attendance rates improve or employees report overall satisfaction in their work. Or you might experience lower turnover rates for that year, indicating that employees feel engaged and valued enough to stick around. So, here's some food for thought. In your personal work experience, when has training been successful for you as an employee? Why? Or, when have you felt that you have implemented an effective training, and how did you measure success? Feel free to leave your responses in the comment section below. Remember when we talked about keeping your audience involved when using a presentation method for training? Well, let's practice that now. And as a side note, we are exercising a brain rule, which is repeat to remember and remember to repeat. And more on brain rules can be found in Spark, which is an excellent reading suggestion. Some key points we've gone over so far. Training is multifaceted. Needs assessments are crucial to developing and implementing effective employee training, and they allow for continued growth. Training comes in many forms, and creativity is encouraged. And success can be measured in a number of ways, like increase in profits or improved employee attendance. Finally, feedback can be the most important part of an effective training. Insights from employees completing the training can help with effectiveness. Training is generally required for effective work in any position, and when training is complete, an employee might turn their attention to development in order to propel their career forward. The difference between training and development is threefold. Development is future-focused. It prepares employees for change, and it is usually voluntary, where training is generally required. Development comes in many forms. Let's look at a few. Continuing education, which could include formal education, certificates, or accreditations. Participation in professional organizations, like attending conferences, seminars, presenting papers, or coordinating an event. In my case, as a residential manager, I've been able to attend the NATSAP conference, which is the National Association for Therapeutic Schools and Programs. That's been able to provide me with a lot of resources on new research on how to do better in my job or information that I can bring back to my employee team. Adding job duties or assignments is another form of development. Some companies may use a level system based on how long an employee remains with the company, where they may be eligible for added responsibilities as they continue their employment. Enrollment in training programs, for example, attending a course to become a certified trainer for a specific skill to your company. Or conducting research. Some companies may encourage taking sabbatical time for the purpose of that employee focusing on research, which they can bring back to the company. Our formula is complete. Training plus added development equals empowered employees, and it's as simple as that. Training provides the resources and tools for an employee to do their job well. When an employee feels like they have all the resources to do their job well, they are more likely to feel satisfied in their work and will continue to seek development. Development has the added bonus effect of increasing the likelihood of longevity and shows employees that their time and effort is valued and important. I hope that you've enjoyed this overview on training, development, and staff empowerment, and that you can walk away with these key points in mind, and hopefully with some tips to help you with training development in your job. Remember, needs assessments may be necessary and crucial for developing an effective training. It's always important to know your audience in order to tailor your information and present your training using the correct platform. Your training will be most effective when you know who you're working with and why. Practice makes perfect, and always remember that creativity might be the master key to an effective training. The sources for my presentation can be found on the slides with asterisks indicated on keywords, and here are a few more resources that I would suggest if you're looking into more information on training, development, and staff empowerment. Oftentimes, I have found that psychology-based books provide really interesting insight into new and creative ways to develop your own personal leadership or to foster out-of-the-box ideas for training.